Good morning, everyone. At the outset, let me thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to talk on this important subject as a part of the session, the continuum from rehab to performance. There are several myths about joint replacement, and for most people, just like any other myth, they need to be busted. So let's see how and why we should approach this subject scientifically. My name is Vaibhav Bagaria, and I work here at the Sir H. N. Reliance Foundation Hospital as the Director of Orthopedics. Now, all of you must have seen this image. It's been all over the television, this face rather, not this picture exact. She is Lindsay Vonn, and in the current Winter Olympic, she participated. And she participated as someone who has undergone a robotic assisted partial knee replacement to fix her pain and arthritis. And post this replacement, everyone asked this question: can she get back to the Olympics? And she did, but only to end up like this. So, obviously, this is a very apt talk at the right time to answer the question. At the other end of the spectrum is this guy, Andy Murray. And he believed in never giving up. And he proved it. After his metal on metal hip resurfacing, he wins. He not only plays the competitive tennis, wins a few matches in Wimbledon, of course, not to his pre surgery level, but yet enough to kind of prove that joint replacement may not mean the end of a sporting career. So where do we stand today? We stand as the bridge between the expectation and fear. We are the reality. We are the custodian of the middle space between fear and expectation. So let's objectively and scientifically look at how do we assess what's who to allow what and at when should we allow that. So there are three universal filters or the framework that I say when we look at the joint. Look at the load, look at the control, and look at the intent. Now, when we talk about load, it's of course the peak joint reaction force. What's the repetitive cycle loading? Whether it's an impact versus non-impact load, and what's the torsional stress. The control part, where physios play a very important role, is about neuromuscular coordination, dynamic valgus control, pelvic instability, and their deceleration capacity. And of course, the patient side of it, which is the intent, whether they want to participate in a recreational versus competitive sports, whether it will be doing occasional or daily, whether it's a fitness intent, or whether they want to go into what we call as an identity support. And it's not just the sports name that matters alone. It's the load profile and the control capacity of the patient that one should be looking at. So we are talking about three critical joint replacement, and we start with knee replacement. So one must remember that the biomechanical reality of a knee replacement is that the polywear depends more on shear and torsion than a compression. In fact, TKRs work better in compression. The real villain here is the rotational stress. You don't want any sudden pivot under load. This is risky. So if we have three categories of what's safe, what's conditional, and what has to be avoided, this is this. So generally low impact activity like brisk walking and slightly more active lifestyle like double tennis is good. Conditionally, you can improve light jogging, skiing, hiking, and strength training, but you should avoid single tennis, football, basketball, repetitive pivot heavy sports, deep weighted squats. And this is most important, and you can take a picture of this if you want. That what are the key assessment parameters before clearance? At the 3 month mark, their quadriceps symmetry should be around 85 to 95%. There shouldn't be any extensor lag. They should be able to do a controlled single leg squat. There shouldn't be any recurrent fusion, and there has to be a psychological readiness to go into sports. With hip replacement, the biomechanical reality is that the hip tolerates compression well, just like knees, but the risk is of instability, and especially in the first 3 months. The extreme range of motion positions are important, and that impact activities which gets transmitted to the hip joint affects the bearing surface. So in general, these are what is safe, what is conditional, and what must be avoided. Most hip patients are young and they are keen to go back into martial arts. They believe that plyometrics will help them, and they tend to ignore the fact that the deep weighted squats are not good for their hip. So we must stress these points. And unlike knee, the assessment parameters for hip are slightly different. Here you check abductor strength symmetry, Trendelenburg gait, or rather absence of Trendelenburg gait, a single leg stance control, and core pelvic coordination. It's very important that these four should be assessed before you allow them to progress to more and more heavier tasks. Remember, the difference between TKR and THR is that the hip fails from instability and the knee fails from the shear. So they are both joint replacement, but they have different mechanism of failures. And now comes the interesting part. This is my favorite. This is the unicompartmental knee replacement, where it gets really interesting biomechanically. This is one of the surgeries where the ligaments are preserved, the kinematics are much more normal, there's a lower constraint, and better proprioception. So you've got much more profile for safe activities like recreational running, tennis, hiking, gym training, skiing. So you'll see that this is what our patient demands. You can allow even some amount of martial art, basketball, repetitive high impact plyometrics, and deep weighted squats, which is complete no in both TKR and THRs. But one must remember the paradox here, that there is a chance of disease progression, higher tibial stress, alignment matters a lot in these patients, and that there is a paradox. And what's the paradox? The patient feels more natural and does want more sports. So how do you assess before you clear them? You evaluate their mechanical access, you see how is the adjacent compartment, you look at the strength symmetry, and you look at what's the impact tolerance for that particular patient. Remember that the UKR gives you freedom, but only if the biology cooperates. So, what's the good, the bad, and the ugly about joint replacement and sports? The good thing is that the modern bearings allow a lot of newer things to be done. We have got better alignment personalization, and with robotics, it's become much and much easier to give a personalized approach or to have a personalized approach to the patient. We are using more and more tissue sparing and muscle sparing approaches. The rehab sciences, all of you are on the front line, have improved a lot. But the bad thing is that the people are having unrealistic expectations. There are YouTube athletes who want to see and emulate their stars. On the other side of the spectrum are the fear-driven restrictions, and there is an inadequate rehab in form of poor neuromuscular retraining. And of course, you have to be mindful and watchful of the ugly side. There could be poor implant positioning, persistent weakness, weight gain after surgery, and a tendency to ignore red flags. And what are these red flags? For any joint, recurrent swelling after the activity, night pains, progressive instability, loss of range of movement, and audible mechanical symptom. Remember, pain is a feedback, swelling is data, and instability is a warning. And also remember this psychological layer, which is often overlooked but important. There are three categories of people: the fearful avoiders, the overconfident warrior, and the identity athlete. Watch out for this. Remember, our job is to calibrate expectation, build capacity, and protect longevity. So, what's the decision map from surgery to sports? First step is the biological readiness. The second is the strength symmetry. The third is control under load. Fourth is classify the load that they'll experience and look for psychological readiness. Remember, the clearance is not time based, it's capacity based. Again, you can take a picture of this. This is the performance checklist. When are they ready to return? When there is no swelling after moderate training, full functional range of movement, strength more than 85%, pain less than 2/10 during simulation, good dynamic alignment, BMI is reasonable, patient understand risk profile. Do not progress if there is recurrent effusion, persistent instability, night pain, progressive range of motion loss, fear-driven guarded movements. The question at the end of this talk is not can you fail. The question is, can you get stronger? between expectation and fear lies the reality. And our job as orthopedic surgeons and rehab specialists is to ensure that we expand this reality safely. And at the end of the talk, I would like to say one thing: we don't replace the joints to limit life, we replace them to expand it safely. We also would like to invite you to the TTJR, which is happening in the Geo World Convention Center between 27th and 1st. And on the day 2, we have got a very interesting session on arthroplasty rehab. The registration fee is very small, and we would welcome you all to participate in this. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would welcome any questions that you may have in this regard. Thanks once again, the chairperson. It's a pleasure to be here.